What's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's video. Hotone Ampero II Stage versus Neural DSP Quad Cortex, Shootout and Honest Thoughts by Michael Nielsen. So what's going on, everybody? Today we're going to be reacting to Hotone Ampero II Stage versus Neural DSP Quad Cortex, Shootout and Honest Thoughts by Michael Nielsen. So again, everyone, as always, if you have not already subscribed, please go and subscribe to Michael Nielsen right now and go to the description on my video for the link to the original video. Give the original video a like, and on this video, my video, leave a comment on what you'd like to see me react to next, and let's get to it. I didn't even hear that much of a tonal shift when he shifted guitars. I'm guessing every phrase passing through, he's A-Bing, I'm guessing. As per a usual reaction video, this is my first time watching it. I'm guessing every bar or two, every turnaround or section is A-Bing between the Ampero and the Quad Cortex. Did not notice a big change in tone, and because of how processed it is in it digital amp modeling, not noticing even that much of a difference when he goes to a Les Paul.
In the opening song clip, I used some Quad Cortex and some Ampero. Can you tell which one was which? Hey gang, I was originally going to do this video as the Ampero Stage 2 versus an unknown $2,000 model, or well, it wouldn't have been unknown, but it was secret. But as I started making the video, I thought, like, I'm just going to tell you, it's going to be the Quad Cortex versus the Stage 2. And the reason I became comfortable for saying that is because I feel like my heart's in the right place. I'm not at all dumping on either of these products. Really, I'm not going to bury the lead. Here is my opinion. These are both great. I mean, the end. If you have a Quad Cortex, you did not make a bad decision. It's a great product. Worth every penny.
One thing that I might add that I'm sure he's going to get to as well is the Quad Cortex is actually a profiler as well. You can take profiles of your actual amplifiers or your friends' amplifiers and whatnot, as where I'm pretty sure the Ampero does not have any profiling abilities at all. But yeah, that's a pretty big difference, even though we've got things like the Tone X1 that can do it for a little over $200 Canadian these days. What a great time to be a guitar player, right?
Sure. If you have a Ampero Stage 2, you did not make a bad decision. You shouldn't feel like you have to upgrade because it may not be an upgrade for you. I'll try to unveil my biases right now. This was given to me from Hotone. I purchased this with my own dollars. I was going to buy the original several months ago. I was going to buy the Stomp 2 because it is a full-featured multi-effect, and I was looking for something that could just do everything on a pedal board with a touch screen and with some updated newer features than some of the other usual suspects. And I reached out to them and asked if they would send me, and I'll do a video and I'll show what I'm doing with it. So thank you for watching that, because I was very successful, which I think. But the thing was, I was just going to buy the Stomp anyway because it's really inexpensive. And then, so why did I get the Quad Cortex? One is because the capturing on the Quad Cortex is fast
Profiler.
and it sounds good. I actually didn't care that this had any modeling in it for amps. It was important to me that it has effects, but if it was just capturing and the effects, I was totally good. Now the Stomp 2 has no capturing. So the important thing for me was that there's so many ins and outs on this. I could go out of the effects loop on an amp, and I could also run into the front end with a noise gate and a tuner, and this has a looper and all this stuff. It's really pretty complete. I didn't really need another capture device either. So this is doing exactly what I wanted it to do. So now this is where I compare. Effects-wise, I think they're pretty similar, to be honest.
Really?
So keep in mind, this is not even half of the price of the Quad Cortex. I'll look.
Yes, again, not half the price of it, but again, the capture and the fact that it's a profiler is a huge selling point and one of the main reasons. But I find it hard to believe that he actually says that the effects quality is pretty much consistent, because Neural DSP, come on, they have some of the greatest plugins and effects that there is out there, bar none. You know what I mean? Like, Neural DSP just has some absolutely epic amp sims and modelers out there, and just effects on the overall. So the fact that the Ampero can get up to that, and as well, a lot of people know that I'm a Valentin user. I was endorsed by Valentin. I'm using a wonderful GP200 that I still think is great, but maybe I need to reach out to them, because actually, Hotone is the parent company to Valentin. So maybe I'll reach out and have them send me one and see. Hopefully you guys would like to see some videos of me going through that, just like I do with all the Valentin or the Zoom stuff. But anyways, a little off topic there and off the rails. But yeah, that is the biggest part that, is making it double the cost, is the fact that it can do the captures. Like I said, even though, you can just get yourself the Tone X1 if that's all you want. Just something that could do profiling and captures and all that sort of thing just for amp modelers. It's crazy the amount of options we got these days.
Look, here's the current prices. Just like every device I've tried, whether it's a Line 6 device, Hotone, Neural, Eventide, whatever, there are hit and misses in the effects. Some of them sound amazing, and I'm just looking for, can you get 90% of the effects really good? Some you go, well, it's close enough. So can I say one of these is better at effects? No, I'd say, if anything, you have a much wider array of effects here. Like, for instance, if you're looking for a delay, it's kind of look, there are analog, tape delay and stuff, but here's your digital delay. This has here's your 2290, here's a vintage rack delay, here's some other multi-taps and stuff like that. They're both super easy to use. This will give you more effect options. That's how I see it. Now for amp models, I don't know if the number of models really matters to me, because if you have 1,000 models that stink, who cares, right? I'm going to say on the number of models, that's even Steven, who both have all of the things you could possibly want. If you're so specific, you probably will need to do a capture of something. But most of the classic and great sounding amps, whether it's modern or vintage, you're going to find in either of these. Now here is the big kicker, and this is the big thing. Which of the amp models sound better? Because that's kind of everything, right? If you're buying a modeler, well, does this modeler sound better? Is this twice as good? I had no idea.
Again, I'm going to lean back on, if it's strictly between those two units because of amp models, I'm going to lean towards a Quad Cortex because of its option to do captures, to profile. That way you can even do like what they're doing with the Tone X and share your profiles with people. Kind of makes it endless. You know, I think that's the way that it's going to kind of go. But it all depends. Like if you're like me, you're only using a couple of amps. A clean amp, an overdriven amp, that's pretty much it. You know, maybe a super high gain amp and an overdrive amp and a clean amp. That's pretty much it. And most of these modelers, they got pretty good amp modeling across the board on a lot of them. If anything, it's really about the IRs. And regardless if any one of these, you know, multi-effects amp modelers does profiling or not, they usually have at least 10 user IR slots that you can import your own IRs that you shared out, and that's what's going to make some of the biggest difference. But yeah, if you're really all about specifically the amp modeling out of those two, I would say Quad Cortex because of the capture, which pretty much gives you unlimited. If you don't like the amp models that come with it, profile your own amps, profile your friends' amps, download and share profiles with people, you know. It's limitless.
None. It's one of those things that's hard to tell until you do a really scientific-ish direct comparison. So that's what I did. So now I will break down, I'll do that track again. I recorded the guitar parts DI. And then I took every couple bars and just repeated the phrase. So it's the exact same performance repeating. And then I reamped the Quad Cortex and I reamped the Ampero. I level matched them as well. I thought that's the best way to figure out does one of these sound better. To try and equalize this to get to the amp models, I used my own IR. It's this IR from my IR collection. I typically use one of two IRs ever. And
I love that he was specific about level matching as much as possible. Because again, you know, I've said this before in other videos, your ears will trick you, and the tone, especially when it comes to guitar with any level of gain, the one that's a little bit louder, you're going to go, oh, that's the one that sounds better. No, it's just higher output. There's not any real tonal or harmonic shift. So the fact that he was very conscious about matching the levels, I love that. And he's keeping it, you know, consistent with using the same IR as well, too. Very, very, very nice. That's like I said, you know, when he did the intro, I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure he's swapping it out every, you know, few rotations or so. And I could not tell the difference sonically from one to another.
And this is my favorite one, which I always start with. I have this for sale on my website, and I recommend it. It works great for everything. I figured, like, you got to start with a plexi. You got to be able to do a good plexi. So I went into one and I dialed it up. I went into the other and I dialed it up, not A-Bing, just to see, like, this is the sound I'm looking for. And then I did A-B and level matched. And what I found was just, well, let's save that conversation for after you listen to the clips.
No change. No change. I'm hearing no discernible tone shift. Great job with the level matching. Very nice. And yes, it's going through the same IR, but again, like I said earlier, regardless, if any modeler, even the cheapest, lowest end 2-button single expression pedal modelers that are out there, all of them have at least a few user IR slots where you could essentially do the same thing if you wanted to A, B, and do your own testing at home. Have the one thing that would be consistent in the signal chain being the IR, and use the same IR. Fantastic job at getting the levels matched up. And I don't care who you are, you can't tell. Come on, you cannot tell the difference in between the Ampero and the Quad Cortex at all. You can't. I can't. Can you? Leave a comment below if you can. I think it's just completely indistinguishable. Nope. Now soloed out. Okay. Again, keeping things consistent with the level and using that same IR. And just like he said earlier, it's the same performance too. So he's reamping, he's using the exact same DI performance through all of it to keep it consistent. You cannot tell a change in there at all, even with it soloed out. Like I say, even if there was a little bit of a difference that you could hear when it's soloed out, by the time it goes down to a full mix, that little bit of difference is indistinguishable. But yeah, I'm hearing no change at all. Yeah, really good job at keeping this test true and proper. Very, very nice. Wow.
Okay, so I decided to try it with one other amp, and I just did some chords. I took the newest model in the Ampero, which is the Soldano SLO 100. It's
Nice.
the HQ model, so that's their highest quality model versus the same amp model in here. This time I used some effects. I used some delay and reverb also built in for each one. I tried to kind of match what it was doing, like a tape delay with some modulation and a plate. And I'll show you those settings, of course, and tell me what you think.
Pretty close.
Okay, so now you've heard everything.
Pretty close.
Please let me know what you think in the comments. I'm very curious to hear if you heard what I heard. What I heard was no change in quality, like, ooh, this one is better. I heard, and I checked this with some other models, typically the Quad Cortex is...
I heard a little tiny bit of change in timbre in the effects. I wouldn't say, like, again, like I said earlier, that was with a soloed out guitar. You know, the reverbs, you know, the plate reverb sounded a little bit different, had a little bit of a different shimmer to them. But the amp tones themselves, I didn't really hear anything different. And if so, again, that was this much different. In a full mix with, you know, drums, bass, other layered guitars, vocals, keys, all everything, you're not going to notice that at all.
Brighter than the Ampero. So because this is brighter, sometimes it sounded more scooped. Other times it sounded like it was more present and cut through the mix. Whereas this sounded fuller, and then other times it sounded a little darker and as if it didn't cut through the mix as much. And you could see on the amp settings, to get to sounds that where I felt were balanced, this was almost maxing out the amp controls at the treble and presence, whereas this was down about halfway. There's no way I would go to 10 on the treble on these. It would just be like ear piercing.
But does it go to 11? Don't go to 10. Go to 11. It's one more. It's one louder. I'll see myself out.
You know, that's one of those things you just don't know what they modeled. Maybe they modeled an amp with old tubes and it's warm, or maybe this was newer tubes and it was super bright, or, you know. So my conclusion is basically, if I'm using this, I just don't have to second guess that I'm using an inferior modeler because of its price point. And like I said, if I was just using the internal models, I wouldn't feel pressed to go into the Quad Cortex. If you are doing captures, that's a whole different ball of wax, because now you're talking about this versus Kempers and Tone X's and a whole slew of other things. So in a sense, it's like whatever fits your bill. Look, these are the same size, but if you had space for something bigger and needed a bunch of pedals, that's gonna guide you in one direction. If you need something smaller, this thing is bonkers for the size. And look at the size difference. I mean, you cut down to just the essentials. There's a ton of effect slots and stuff, so you could just roll up with this. So, I mean, options, right? How great is it to have an option for everything? So, yeah, just go make some music, right? You could use this, you could use this, you could use that. Go make some music. All right, gang. Thanks for watching. We'll see you later.
All right. That was reacting to Hotone Ampero II Stage versus Neural DSP's Quad Cortex. Shootout and Honest Thoughts by Michael Nielsen. Again, I'm really impressed with how he set everything up using the same DI tracks and having them reamped, and using the same IR on everything to keep everything consistent and matching the level. That was the proper way to do a test like that. 10 out of 10 when it comes to that. Absolutely fantastic. So again, if you've not already subbed to Michael, go and give him a sub. In the description of my video, this year video, I have the link for the original video. Go and give the original video a like. And on this video, my video, leave a comment on what you'd like to see me react to next. Thanks for checking out this video. If you like what you saw, please subscribe, click the notification bell, like, comment, and share. It doesn't cost a thing and would really help out the channel. Also, please subscribe to my other channel, GK Mac Music, for some live looping live streams with a side of jackassery, some original music, and some short content, also with a side of jackassery. If you'd like to help out the channel financially, you can buy some merch at the merch store, or you can become a channel member. As always, everyone, thanks so much for your continued support. Do what makes you happy.